Eagles QB.
Thanks, Susie. I had a chance to sit down with Carson Wentz earlier here in Minneapolis earlier in the week at the Super Bowl. You know, I met him on the day he was drafted, interviewed him then, and I knew he was destined for greatness. This is a guy who was very mature and handled this business so well right from the beginning. But that greatness was cut short on December 10th in Los Angeles. And I had a chance to really delve into how the injury happened, what it's been like for him watching Nick Foles take this team to the Super Bowl, and how it feels. But first, I asked him to take us back to when he was injured in L.A. Listen to the conversation.
It's a matchup of division leaders, the 10-2 Philadelphia Eagles, the 9-3 Los Angeles Rams.
Wentz on first down. Looks. He's rolling. He's going to run.
When he got into the end zone, he took a big shot.
The one Eagle you can least afford to lose.
It's first and goal from the 2, right? The crossing route in front of you is not open. And then you decide to go. Why?
There's a lane. I got in. You know, I made the dive and just got hit kind of fluky in a weird way from both sides. Obviously, it was a pretty hard hit on my leg, and you know, I didn't know exactly what it was at the time until I started walking to the huddle. I knew something was unstable in there. You're going back into the tunnel. What's going through your mind as I could see you were limping. Yeah. No, I mean, there's a lot of things going through my mind. You know, that game was going through my mind. I wanted to get back in the locker room so I could turn the TV on and see where we're at in the game, see what was happening next, what was this injury going to be in my health for this rest of this game, the rest of the season, what kind of level of injury is it. I was kind of all over the place with that walk back to the tunnel.
Wentz goes back. He's surrounded. Dipping and dodging and diving.
To play cornerback on this football team, you have to be tough.
Do you ever say to yourself, hey man, it was first and goal from the 2. If I had not dove in, I could have easily lived through the next 3 plays and given it to LeGarrette Blount. Do you ever say that to yourself? I mean, without a doubt, those things can creep in. You know, the what ifs, what could I have done differently, all those things. But at the end of the day, you know, I've taken hundreds of worse hits, you know, and it's just the way it kind of awkwardly hit. You know, that's what you sign up for when you play this game. You can't play with a sense of being scared to get hit, being scared to get hurt. As a competitor, yeah, I'm always kind of evaluating, you know, where can I, you know, protect myself more. And, you know, I've been doing that since I got into the league. But with something like that, you know, I was right there on the end zone in a game to clinch the NFC East, a big game.
The Eagles are headed for the Super Bowl and a rematch with the New England Patriots in Super Bowl 52.
What is your role now during the game?
Yeah, obviously, the roles changed. Things are different. Not quite how I envisioned the end of the season here, but obviously the first couple weeks I couldn't be on the sidelines. Once the playoffs came around, I could finally go back on the field and just be around the guys. So I was as involved as any of the coaches or anybody else. And talking to Nick in between drives, you know, I'd throw an idea to coach here or there, but kind of just letting Nick be the leader, but just kind of just being in his ear. And then throughout the week, you know, still meeting with those guys, those quarterbacks in the morning, and just talking through the game plan, talking through life, and just trying to be there as much as I can.
If I was Nick and I said, Carson, give me one thing that I got to remember in the Super Bowl, one point of emphasis. I'm asking for your advice, and I'm Nick Foles. What's the one thing that I got to remember when I'm in the game?
I think I always just remind him it's just football. Once that whistle blows, it's just another game. You know, the lights are going to be bright. Everything else is going to be going on. But if he can just go back and just play his game, just feel it out the way he does, he'll be just fine. You know, these two young men, they're both faith-based, and they formed a special bond and brotherhood. Check this out. This is what Carson Wentz tweeted out this morning about Nick Foles. He's going to be there side by side with him as Nick Foles goes through this challenging Super Bowl 52 against Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. And it's really interesting, Susie. That was a very revealing conversation with Carson Wentz when he says it was tough, and it is tough for him to watch Nick Foles be the quarterback of the Super Bowl. It has been one tough ride for him. And Mort, it's going to be a tough rehab for him to get back onto the field in September.
Mort?
Yes, as you know, he was hurt on December 10th, had the surgery on December 13th, and as he revealed this week, not just the ACL tear, but an LCL tear, the lateral collateral ligament, and that puts you about 6 weeks behind in terms of rehab. They say he's ahead of rehab. He expects to be ready for the season opener in September. An ACL, LCL is a 9 to 12 month rehab. 9 months is September. The Eagles actually expect him to come close to achieving that, but Susie, they will not rush him back because he's just not a guy that they have for the next year or two. That's their 15-year franchise quarterback, and you know what? Nick Foles gives them a little bit of insurance, even if he's not ready in September.
And Mort, what a job by the Eagles coaching staff, Foles, the entire team really to maintain the success in Carson's absence. Doug Peterson just continued to be aggressive regardless of who's under center. The Eagles have 18 fourth down conversions this season. 3 more than any other team, 9 of the 18 when they were leading. And even when they don't convert, Peterson knows that the defense will back them up. The Eagles haven't allowed a single point on the next drive after a failed fourth down conversion. This really is, Steve, it's uncommon aggressiveness. And when you talk to both Foles and Peterson about it, they both use the word trust. That's what makes it work.
Well, trust comes from history, like time together. They were together in Philly with Andy Reid. Then they were together in Kansas City with Andy Reid. And then last year, there's only one coach of 32 that flew down to Tucson to see Nick Foles and work him out and tell him, Nick, I believe in you. You can come up here and back up Carson Wentz, help our young quarterback, and if you get called, I know you can do it. And so that builds that trust. You look at the playoffs. The first game, I think that Doug basically said to Nick, hey, be careful. We'll have a horizontal pass game. We'll try to get through it, which they did, and they beat Atlanta. Then in the championship game, I think he flipped the script. He said, look, I'm not going to try to protect you. Doug Peterson told him, you protect me. I'm going to call the big plays. I'm going to call the big chunks. You can look short, but what I want you to go ahead. But what I want you to do is pass up the short ones that are open. I know you can make the big throws. And so that in many ways, he said to Nick, and you only say this to top 10 quarterbacks, I'm going to call an aggressive game plan, and you protect me from a bad call. You protect me from doing something stupid. I'll trust you on the field. And you saw the results, 37 points, and they ran away from one of the best defenses in Minnesota because Nick Foles was given the full measure of that offensive playbook and the trust. Because you said it, Susie, it is about a trust factor between Doug Peterson and Nick Foles. And you can see in these plays, Nick continuously looked down the field for the big plays and the chunk plays that are going to be necessary for tonight. You can see here, he has the flat open. Nope, where are his eyes? His eyes are down. Look, Coach said, it's on me. I'm going to make the big throws, and he continuously did it last week. So in my mind, if Nick Foles has an expansive game this year, today, that'll be one of 2 keys to the Philadelphia Eagles beating and upsetting the New England Patriots.
Matt Patricia and Bill Belichick are dissecting the heck out of that.
And a staple for Belichick defenses, we've seen it. They're going to go into this game and they're going to say, all right, let's take away what does Philly do best. And I think if you're Philly, you want to come out, you have to establish your run game. I think between your 3 backs, what you can do, and then what that opens up for Foles in the passing game. You see, they can really run at you with 3 guys here. To get Ajayi in that trade from Miami in the middle of the season, New England knows a lot about this guy right here with Blunt taking them to the Super Bowl last year. And a young guy that I think has really come on the scene here, and you saw him give him some spark plays last week, is Corey Clement. So they got 3 guys. They can do a little, Blunt's more of a traditional runner. The other 2 are both runners and can do some stuff in the passing game. So I think if New England's going to come out here, try to put a stop to that and put the game in Nick Foles' hands.
Yeah, and the thing, you know what? Look, New England isn't the only team that really attacks your weaknesses. Doug Peterson's as good as there is at figuring out what your weaknesses are on the defensive side of the ball in particular and going after it. And you look at that NFC Championship game, there were guys who they had earmarked to try and hit down the field with those big plays. They wanted to get after Terrence Newman. They wanted to test Harrison Smith. They wanted to test them all in the back end, anybody other than Xavier Rhodes, and they even got after him too. And I think in this game, Eric Rowe, who you see on your screen right now, if he happens to get caught in the slot against a guy like Nelson Aguilar can wind up having a big game. And because you saw Eric Rowe struggle in quick change of direction type of routes where guys were running option routes, guys were running whip routes, snag routes, running them across the field on shallow crossers. He just doesn't have the kind of speed to deal with a guy like Nelson Aguilar. And then, really to piggyback off what Greg said, I think the running backs are going to have a big game here for the Philadelphia Eagles in the passing game because speed is something that the Patriots lack at the second level at linebacker.
I think about the end of the game last year in the Falcons. It was kind of this, like all gas, no brakes thing. But Peterson, he's more calculated in all of this, isn't he?
Yeah,
much more calculated.
Absolutely. Oh, look, they're analytics driven as far as when they take their shots and when they don't. It's really, Steve talks about it. They remove emotion and kind of just play the odds and play the percentages.
This whole year, Susie, we've said, what do you think about the Eagles? And they're always better. They're always better throughout this whole season. And even the championship game, we thought it was going to be a tight game. They're better than we thought. I think this Eagles team today will be better than we even think today.
And to put the bow on it, to be able to be aggressive on offense, you have to have the complementary defense. And Jim Schwartz and his guys, they really embrace this. They love that the offense is trying to put extra points on the board. And if they don't, if they have to come out at midfield, they embrace that too. The whole philosophy for this team is it's really a great team unit, and we've got your